Hello, cousin.
Hello, cuz.
So today we're going to talk about growing pains, something I know nothing about.
I'm here to enlighten you. Growing Pains was a nice, wholesome family sitcom that had 7 seasons. I believe it started airing in 1985 and aired through 91. So
92.
it's 92. So close. But yeah, it's just a fun little family sitcom that follows the Seaver family. The mom, Maggie Seaver, she was a stay at home mom for 15 years, and we get introduced to the family, and she decides to go back to work being a journalist. And the father, Jason Seaver, who is played by Alan Thicke, Robin Thicke's dad, who just a great voice, cool guy. He is a therapist, and in order to help his wife be able to go back and work in journalism, he moves his practice into the house, which, of course, a little bit of chaos ensues because they have 3 children. Mike, who's the oldest, he's I think, 15 or so whenever the show starts, played by Kirk Cameron. The middle child, the sister, Carol, who's played by Tracy Gold. And then lastly, there's little Ben and
Jeremy Miller.
Thank you. I knew it. I could see it in my head. Yeah, so it just kind of follows their family going through normal kind of family things. There's always a good lesson to be learned at the end of each episode. It's one of those shows where there's normally something positive to come out of it.
It's a very ABC show of the mid to late 80s, early 90s. It's in the Full House block, that type of wholesome.
Very much. I guess for background, I did watch the show as a child. I watched reruns of it when I was 4 and 5 with my mom. But this was my first time going back, watching it all in order, all the way from episode 1 to the very end. I noticed in the first season, the show has a very distinct theme song.
Show me that smile again.
If you've watched the show, you probably know all the words to the song. It's very catchy, very 80s. But I was surprised to see in season 1, the font they used for the opening credits looked almost identical to Cheers.
Really?
The same yellow lettering.
I'll have to pull that up when I edit this. That's interesting.
Yeah, I found it interesting too. And I want to say it was after the first season. They did change the font and stuff a little bit. But that first season, I was like, this is the opening of Cheers in so many ways. But yeah, Growing Pains is fun. You get to watch the kids grow up. Eventually, a new sibling is born named Chrissy.
Like any good sitcom.
I know. Why do they always have to throw the kid in there?
It's either the cousin comes or the oops baby happens, in season 6 or 7. And it never adds anything.
It really doesn't. I will say, though, all things considered, how we have seen this kind of format play out in a lot of shows, this wasn't an accident. They start talking about wanting to have another baby early on in season 3. So it is something they're working towards, which kind of, that helps make it, I don't know, feel a little bit better.
Yeah, it's not like
a last edition.
Yeah, it's not like Full House where Jesse and Aunt Becky have the twins in season whatever, or in Roseanne is last 2 seasons they have the baby, or Malcolm in the Middle they got to have the baby. It's it adds nothing. I don't know why shows always got to do that. Sitcoms being more particular.
Yeah. But I will say what I appreciated with the addition of Chrissy was Ben was always the baby. When the show started, I think he's in 2nd grade. So, he always looked up to his big brother, Mike. It was cool getting to see him transition to being oh no, I'm not going to be the baby anymore, to, oh, maybe this will actually be cool because now I get to be a big brother and teach my younger sibling all these cool things that I learned from mine.
Right. And by the point where I get to age where I get in trouble, no one's going to care because they already have 2 other kids that are older and gone through it.
Well, and that's actually a lot what Ben's personality is like in the show, especially when he reaches the teenage years. I will say they do a good job of incorporating Chrissy into it because Chrissy kind of becomes how Ben was. So Mike would always wrap Ben into these fiascos, all right, I'm going to sneak out. I need you to help me do this and this, kind of get him to be a part of it. He does the same thing with Chrissy. And only difference is she's a little bit brighter than Ben. Ben and Mike, not the smartest. It's the girls in the family that are the smarter ones. There's an episode where Carol's like a grade younger than Mike, and she almost skips a grade. And Mike is adamant. He's the cool kid in school, and he's like, "You are not skipping a grade. Like, we are not going to be in the same grade. I'm not spending my senior year with you. Like, I already live with you. That's bad enough. We're not doing that." She ultimately decides not to skip a grade after, reflecting on her options. The girls in the show, definitely a little bit smarter. It was a very fun rewatch. I mean, clearly it feels like a moment in time in many ways.
Just the images I've seen when I pulled up the show, when I was making the thumbnail, I was like, oh yeah, this is the most mid 80s, late 80s thing you're ever going to find. The furniture, the clothes.
The clothes, the hair, everything. Just wait till you listen to the theme song. You know how I made you listen to the Degrassi High?
Yes.
Song.
Which is something. It is in its own way very 80s too, but different 80s.
Different kind of 80s, but still kind of that same energy, except better recording of vocals and song overall.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
One, how did they incorporate Leonardo DiCaprio into the show? And two, was his incorporation in the show worse or better than the youngest sibling?
Very good questions. I was waiting. And finally, I had to look up when Leo showed up in the show during my rewatch, because being a huge Leo fan, and I had remembered watching him in it as a kid. So I was like, when does he show up?
Right.
And I think I was still in season 2 when I finally looked it up on IMDb, and I was like,
God.
oh, he doesn't show up till the very last season.
Yeah, and halfway through that, I don't know.
I will say, I think he's there from like the second episode of the last season.
Okay, so it's not as bad.
He's not there all the way till the finale, so that's a little sad as a Leo fan. But pretty much how they introduce him. So at this point in the show, Mike, the oldest Seaver child, he's kind of been trying to figure out what to do with his life. He tried going to community college for a bit. He tried acting, and he ended up subbing actually at his old high school. And he learned he's actually a really good substitute because he was the bad kid. So all the things they try to pull on him, he already knows because he did it. So, that wasn't necessarily the path he wanted to go down, but it's something he ends up doing along the way. He has a student, and this is in a pretty rough class. Like, I'm talking, tossing stuff out the windows.
Like when Degrassi and Lakehurst meshed in one school, that type of bad environment.
Yes, that kind of energy. Like they just want to dance and have fun and not listen and learn. But Leo's the student, and his character's name is Luke, and he actually shows an interest in learning, and not in like a nerdy way either. Like he's still cool about it, but he's like, oh, that's sick. What if we try doing this as an experiment? Mike ends up really liking Luke, thinks, he's got potential. He ends up discovering that Luke has been in the school because he is homeless. His mom is dead. His dad left when he was younger, and he's been living on the streets, and he moved from the streets into the school. Mike, initially, he goes to his father, of course, who's a therapist, and being like, there's this kid, what can we do? Mike ends up bringing him over to the Seaver household, and sure enough, they kind of unofficially end up adopting Luke. Even though at first the mom's very standoffish, she's like, Nova's kid.
We got enough damn kids we're taking care of.
Well, that's it. I mean, don't get me wrong, they both have decent paying jobs, but that's a lot of kids.
Yes.
And then to throw in another one that's like not even yours.
Right.
Very commendable.
So is it kind of like Sean and his teacher in Boy Meets World, kind of that dynamic-ish?
It is, yeah, kind of like with Mr. Turner and Sean.
There you go, that's his name.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say, Leo's acting was so much better than everyone else in the show.
Even at 13 years old or whatever?
Yes, okay, so I think it's like, the second or third time we're seeing Leo, and he's staying at the Seaver household. They have like all these bottles of wine, kind of in like a wine cooler section. They have like 16 bottles, and they all go missing. Yeah.
Wow.
So obviously concerning. This has never been an issue before. Oh, look, we have a homeless kid staying with us, and now all of our alcohol's gone. So the mom is instantly in mom mode. She's like, it's got to be him. I know why my kids didn't do this. Like, this he can't stay if this is happening. And Mike is just like, there's no way. He's not a drunk. Like, I know that he didn't drink it. Like, you're blaming the wrong person.
Right.
Finally, they come to have this conversation. So it's the parents, Maggie and Jason, and Mike and Leo. Leo breaks down and starts crying. He did take the bottles. He took them and he poured them all down the drain because his mom had a boyfriend that would beat him when he would drink. And he was afraid and didn't want to see that happen again. And he just acted.
I want to talk about it, George.
That whole scene, he outacted every other actor on the show. Not that they're bad, but there's different levels of acting, different quality. And I burst out laughing because I was like, oh my gosh, even when he's this young, he stole the show. Like, he really did steal the show in a lot of ways. A very fun addition, especially because by that point, him and Ben are pretty much the same age. So they go to the high school together, and you kind of have that dynamic of Ben trying to work it out. Like, oh, like, does my brother like you more than me? Like, you're the cool kid, I'm still the nerd. Even though it is kind of like a long shot of that being a realistic story, for their family, it honestly worked.
Right. And it's supposed to be a wholesome, like, this is the best people are able to do this, and they do that. Like, look, he's not a bad person, he just has a bad circumstance, like that type of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And as soon as they said that, like, the mom totally changes her tune and, like, gives him a kiss on the forehead, and it's like, oh my gosh, of course you can stay here.
Yeah, we're not going to beat you with the wine bottles, I promise.
Yeah, it was fun to see. And then, in fact, I don't think I told you this. After the show ends, which they did kind of a typical, family sitcom ending where they move out of the childhood house kind of thing, everyone's going on different parts of their lives. They ended up doing 2 TV movies for Growing Pains after this. So the show ended in 92. I want to say the first movie came out in 2000.
Oh, wow. The Growing Pains movie.
And then 2004 is the second one.
Yep. Growing Pains, Return of the Seavers.
Yes, I know. I love how dramatic that sounds. It's like, you're not an intimidating family.
Like,
no. When you hear, like, Return of something, you're like, ooh.
Yeah, Return of the Jedi. You're like, oh, the Jedi are coming back, not Return of the Seavers.
Watch out for those Seavers. So I was a little bit disappointed in the overall ending of the show, just because it felt like the easy cop-out, and, like, there's still character growth to happen, and, like, it just seems like things weren't totally wrapped up.
I may have an answer to all that, according to Wikipedia, which saw the show, which had a steady erosion in viewers over the past few seasons, while still remaining in the Nielsen top 30 through season 6, experienced a dramatic decline in viewership from 27 to 75, resulting in ABC's and the show's producers agreeing to end the series at the conclusion of the 7th season. So they pretty much did it to themselves in a way.
I was definitely disappointed in the clip show 2-part finale. That rubbed me the wrong way.
Clip shows are awful. I don't know why they shows ever got away with that. I know everything was a lot more episodic and people didn't binge stuff back in the day, but I just find that completely lazy. Like, that's your finale of an 8-year-long show, is just like, oh, remember that one time we went to the park? Remember that one time we went to the roller coaster? That's so bad.
Exactly. And the worst part was, a few seasons prior to that, they already had an entire episode that was a clip show. So you got to see a lot of those clips again in the finale. And it's like, yeah, I saw all these clips, not only in the first clip show, but when I watched the actual episodes. Yeah, so then we get these TV movies. And so the first one picks up, it's the year 2000. Now, I do want to bring up one thing that irritated the crap out of me. When the show ended, Chrissy was not that old. She was 6, 7, 8 oldest. When the TV movie picks up, she is suddenly towards the end of high school, even though it's only supposed to be 7 years. That is
right.
passed.
So even if she's the oldest, she'd only be like 15, 16, depending on birthdays. She'd be a freshman or sophomore or somewhere in there.
Yeah, and no, she's definitely not. She's, like, smoking cigarettes in the high school bathroom, and yeah. So that bothered me, number one, because I'm like, look, I know I'm not good at math, but I know this isn't right. Like, I swear she was like 5 or 6 by the time the show ended. I chose to look past it. I was like, whatever, I will just ignore this not being accurate at all. And so, everyone's kind of gone off to do their own thing. Mike has gotten married. He's married to his wife in real life.
Oh, okay.
Like they met in the show. We do know her. Her character's name is Kate. She shows up in the last few seasons of the show. They have like a bunch of adopted kids.
That's a character trait though, because he essentially adopted Leo, so like it makes sense.
Right, which I do appreciate because, having watched that, you're like, okay, that makes sense. Ben is kind of still trying to figure stuff out, just being Ben. But at this point, Maggie decides that she's shifting from journalism to do more political stuff, like helping do like PR, media management stuff for someone running for Congress kind of thing. And I really hope I'm not getting the two movies mixed up now. That could be part of a second, but either way.
They're both election years, to be technical, 2000 and 04, okay. So politically driven makes sense.
Okay, yeah, that does make sense. Very true. I didn't even stop to think of that, so good job pointing that out. That explains a lot, but it's still very cheesy. It's a TV movie. It's not not
an ABC TV movie at that.
At least they gave more closure, and we got to see more of like what they did end up doing with all the kids in their life, and like Carol becomes a lawyer, and like you get to see different things.
Did they mention what happened to Leo's character? Because obviously he didn't come back for the TV movie. But...
No, he did not come back. So how his character left the show is his father, his biological father, shows back up. He's a truck driver. There's like a couple failed attempts of him trying to like build a relationship with Leo, and like at first Mike doesn't want it to happen. He straight up tells his dad, like, I'm not telling Luke that his dad wants to see him. And his dad, being reasonable and a therapist, is like, you have to tell him. That's not your choice. Like,
it's his dad. I mean, whether you like it or not, like, then it's his choice beyond that.
At first, Luke is pretty resistant to it, but his dad has some health problems, and his dad wants them to like go on a road trip across the country in his big rig together, and Leo pretty much pieces out. He goes with them, and it's funny because like the whole thing was because like none of them wanted him to leave. They all want him to stay.
Right.
It's like, it's just a few months, I'll be back. And then like the next episode, they put the house up for sale.
It's only for a couple months. I'll be coming back
to move and stuff. And I'm like, okay, so he's gonna come back to his like adoptive family, and they're all just gone.
And it's not like they could like text them, in '92. Like it was just like, we'll write you a letter, I guess. Or we'll leave a letter with the new homeowner. Like, hey, if this kid shows up, this is where we're at.
That's what the second movie is about, essentially. So in the second one, Carol's pregnant. She's about to have kids. Mike has even more adoptive kids. The parents are retiring. They were going to sell their newer house that they had purchased, whenever they downsized after getting rid of all the kids. Pretty much the whole family decides, no, we need you. Like, we need the grandparents. We're going to have too many kids around here. You guys are, such great parents. We want you close by.
Right. Next man up. Sorry.
Yep, and we don't want you to move. So that whole thing is like trying to save the house, essentially, and make sure that they can all stay together.
Interesting.
Yeah, I will say overall, like, the show was super progressive for the time, which I appreciate. There was...
Yeah, a woman going into the workforce in 1985. Dear God.
I know, and I wasn't even just talking about that. Like, yeah, no, that is a great example. But, oh, man, gotta love it. There are only a few things that I felt like didn't age well, and even then, they weren't as bad as they could have been, in my opinion.
I guess because it is a wholesome... Like, it had the intention of being a wholesome show.
The things that didn't age well just simply didn't age well because of time and how things have changed and what's, politically correct. There's a few jokes with the dad and, like, some of his patients. They're making jokes about, like, feeling like being a woman trapped in a man's body, like, those kind of things, which just obviously would not work now. And even then, it wasn't done in, like, a spiteful way or anything. It's just one of those, as I was watching it.
Funny hearing it in the context of that, especially in today's world, how different all that is compared, like, that's funny.
Absolutely. Yeah, so there were just like some moments like that, or just some of like the fat shaming jokes that Mike would make towards his sister Carol, who by no means was fat and did have a real eating disorder in real life. The last few seasons of the show. So like, I know those aren't like the greatest, but I feel like that's a very accurate sibling dynamic. Like,
for sure.
Of course, the older brother's gonna give his little sister a hard time, being like, yeah, like why would a guy want to be with you when you look like that? Or
Yeah,
just like
that's natural. And things age, and things are context is different. Even in 2005, you could say things that you can't say today. I would even say in 2015, you could say things you can't say today. So like, I get it. So 1990, yeah, it's a different world.
absolutely. But I mean, overall though, there's still like a lot of progressive things. Like, there's a whole episode where Carol's like, why does Mike not get punished for the same things I would do? Like, you're not being fair. Find like kind of challenging dynamics between the mom and dad at times too. So
the other thing I found real interesting when I quickly kind of looked it up was like the syndication of the show after it left ABC.
yes.
After it was done, dusted on ABC, it was sold into local syndication. So TBS also had it along with local syndication kind of through like 96, 97. And then in September of 97 is when it actually started to air on the Disney Channel. And that's maybe where you first watched it, I'm guessing?
I was just going to say, all of that checks out just right. I was 4 in 1997, and I remember watching it on Disney Channel with my mom. So.
And that ran until 2001. And then the cable rights moved to ABC Family, which makes more sense. That seems like a way more ABC Family show in the context of everything that came to fruition. That ran from 01 to 04. And then it went to Ion Television. I don't know if you remember that one.
I do.
And then in February of 2007, Nick at Night began airing Growing Pains. But it didn't last too long. It was only a few years. And then it got moved to Teen Nick / Noggin / The N in 2010, and then it ended up on Up TV from 2015 to 2017, and then Antenna TV began airing the series from December of 17 through 2021, and then now the Roku channel, it already ended from like 19 to 21.
I did not realize it was still airing on different channels.
It was up to 2021 according to Wikipedia. Not saying it's not somewhere now, but yeah, it was on the Roku channel up to that point in the Rewind TV.
I ended up watching it on Plex.
Free. Yeah.
Of course, had to watch commercials, but not a big deal. The episodes aren't that long anyways.
Right.
It was fun though. And I mean, I did remember more episodes than I thought I would, even from earlier seasons. So worth it if you're into like a wholesome late 80s, early 90s family sitcom.
But yeah, I think that's Growing Pains. So if you're interested, check it out. If not, totally get it. It's an older show, but if you're bored enough, watch it. What the heck? And we'll catch you in the next one.
Later.